Disney Storybook Collection. Disney's Pocahontas. The crew of the Susan Constant took one last look at London before setting sail for the new land in search of gold. They were led by John Ratcliffe, a mean-spirited and ambitious governor. But the rest of the crew was a friendly bunch. Lon, Ben, Thomas, and the others hoped to make their fortunes, and the brave John Smith had been hired to fight the Indians. The months at sea were long and hard. During one storm, a huge wave swept Thomas overboard. In a flash, John Smith tied a rope around his own waist and dived after him. The rest of the crew hauled them both to safety. Radcliffe heard the commotion and went on deck. He reminded the sailors that freedom and riches awaited them. Not even a band of bloodthirsty Indians shall stand in our way, he exclaimed. Then he returned to his comfortable cabin. No need to worry about Indians, added Smith. I'll take care of them. In the new land, warriors from the Algonquin Indian tribe were returning home from battle. They were celebrating a recent victory over another tribe, and a group from the village had gathered to greet them. The noble chief, Powhatan, told his people of the admirable courage of the young brave named Kocoum. At the celebration, Powhatan looked for his beloved daughter, Pocahontas. He sighed. Pocahontas was adventurous like her mother had been, following the wind wherever it took her. Powhatan wasn't surprised that she wasn't there to greet him. She was always off on her own, exploring. He wondered where she could be. Pocahontas was in the woods, admiring the view from the edge of a waterfall with her pals Miko, a raccoon, and Flit, a hummingbird. Her best friend Nakoma appeared in a canoe at the bottom of the waterfall. Pocahontas, your father's back, she called. Come down here. With that, Pocahontas dived over the waterfall and swam to the canoe. That's not exactly what I meant, Nakoma said. What were you doing up there anyway? I was thinking about my dream, Pocahontas replied. I know it means something. Then she and Nakoma rode toward the village. Later, Pocahontas greeted Powhatan. Father, for many nights now, I've had a strange dream. I think it is telling me something's about to happen. It is, her father said with a smile. The courageous Kocoum has asked for your hand in marriage. Then he gave Pocahontas a necklace that her mother had worn on their wedding day. Pocahontas did not think her dream had been about marriage. Besides, Kocoum was so serious all the time, he didn't seem right for her. Pocahontas wanted to make her father happy, yet she knew she had to follow her heart. She visited Grandmother Willow, the ancient tree spirit by the river. I've been having this dream, Pocahontas explained, and I'm not sure what it means. Tell me all about it, child, said the tree. I'm running through the woods, and in front of me is a spinning arrow," said Pocahontas. "Oh, Grandmother Willow, should I marry Kokoam, or is my dream telling me something else? Which path should I take?" "Your mother asked the same question," said the kindly tree, "and I told her, if you listen to the spirits, they will guide you." As Pocahontas thought about what Grandmother Willow had said, she looked seaward and noticed some strange white clouds. But they weren't clouds at all. They were the sails of the Susan Constant. Aboard the ship, the tired crew was glad to see land again. John Smith soon went ashore to explore. Pocahontas hid on the cliff to watch him. When Smith climbed too close to Pocahontas's hiding place, Meeko ran up to him. Smith gave the raccoon a biscuit and started to walk toward Pocahontas. Just then, a bugle sounded. John Smith went to find the other settlers. When he did, Governor Ratcliffe was planting a British flag on the soil to claim the land. Then the governor ordered the others to unload the ship, build a fort, and dig for gold. But John Smith was eager to explore the land, so he set off again. Pocahontas followed him quietly. Before long, the two came face to face. When Pocahontas ran away, Smith followed her. Then he spoke to her, and Pocahontas remembered Grandmother Willow's advice. He sounded kind, though she couldn't understand him. After spending some time together, they figured out how to communicate. Pocahontas even taught Smith some Indian words, including hello and goodbye. As Pocahontas showed Smith her world, he realized that they had a lot to learn from each other. Just as their hands accidentally touched, the sound of beating drums interrupted them. When Pocahontas returned to her village, she discovered that the Indians knew about the settlers and planned to fight them. Meanwhile, John Smith met with the other settlers to convince them to keep the peace. But Ratcliffe hadn't discovered any gold yet and was sure the Indians had hidden it somewhere. Both sides were determined to fight. That night, Smith and Pocahontas met up near Grandmother Willow and shared a tender kiss. At that moment, Kokwom charged from a hiding place, swinging his tomahawk at Smith. "Leave him alone!" shouted Pocahontas. The two men began to fight. Then Thomas suddenly appeared. While trying to protect Smith, he shot Kokwom. Smith ordered Thomas to run away. Seconds later, a band of Indians captured Smith and brought him back to their village. Powhatan decided that John Smith would die at sunrise. The chief was very angry with Pocahontas. "Because of your foolishness, Kokwom is dead," he cried. Later, Pocahontas secretly went to see John Smith. "It would have been better if we'd never met," she told him. "I'd rather die tomorrow than live 100 years without having known you," he replied. "I can't leave you," Pocahontas said tearfully. "You never will," Smith said. "No matter what happens to me, I'll always be with you." Pocahontas visited the ancient tree again. I followed the wrong path, Grandmother Willow. Then Miko gave her a compass. He had taken it from Smith's bag, thinking it was food. Spinning arrow, Pocahontas said thoughtfully. It's the arrow from your dream, Grandmother Willow said. Upon hearing that, Pocahontas turned and ran swiftly back to the village. She had to stop her father from killing John Smith. She had to make things right. Ratcliffe and the angry settlers arrived at the village just as Chief Powhatan was about to kill Smith. Pocahontas appeared at the same time. "No! I love him, father!" she shouted. "Look around you. This is where the path of hatred has brought us." The chief looked at the angry men on both sides. "If there is to be more killing, it will not start with me," he said as he released John Smith. Ratcliffe shot at Powhatan anyway. Smith jumped in front of the chief, taking the bullet himself. The other settlers captured Ratcliffe and led him toward the ship. John Smith was told he had to return to London to treat his wounds. "Come with me?" he asked Pocahontas. "I'm needed here," she replied bravely. "But I can't leave you," he said. "You never will," replied Pocahontas. As the ship sailed out to sea, Smith made the Indian sign that Pocahontas had taught him for goodbye. Standing on the cliff where she had first seen his ship, Pocahontas repeated the gesture. "Ah, na," whispered John Smith. "Goodbye," Pocahontas said softly.